Hi, what's up, guys? It's Will back once again for another fight card prediction. We're heading to Fight Island. So UFC 251, Kamaru Usman is now fighting Jorge Masvidal. Max Holloway against Alexander Volkanovski. Petr against Jose Aldo. Three absolutely massive title fights, and we've had a lot of changes, especially to the main event over the weekend here with Masvidal stepping in as Burns has got COVID-19. So yeah, it's crazy. I'm looking forward to this card. There's a lot of top fights. I'm really looking forward to Fight Island. I think there's a lot of great fights scattered throughout the 4 fight cards. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to kind of just Fight Island in general. I think it's going to be sick from what I've been seeing of some of the surroundings in Yas Island and so on. It's going to be an experience for those guys over there. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to kind of get into it there. If you're new to the channel, please hit that like button. You've been doing phenomenal with that. Just keep on smashing it. And if you're new to the channel, give me a sub. It'd be great. I've garnered a lot of new followers over the last kind of month. 6 weeks or so, and I've got loads and loads of new subs. I really do appreciate that, guys. It doesn't go unnoticed, honestly. And yeah, I want to say just a massive thank you to the people who've been donating. I've had a few extra people that have donated some money towards this animal charity. This is the last week there. We've got a good number. I'm going to give some of my own money to this charity. I get my bonus this year, so around about this time, so I'm going to be giving some of that out to them. So just a big thank you, Andrew, Lewis, Joanna, Rekic, I think his name is. If I've pronounced that, I'm really sorry, brother. But thank you so much for just the kind donations. It doesn't have to be that much, but it makes a massive difference. So I really do appreciate everybody that is kind of just open up the heart and give a little bit of money. I wasn't expecting to get all that much, so I've kind of done a lot better than I thought I would. So just a big thank you to those guys. I see you guys in the chat there. Moise Audio, Before the Beat. I see Masiso, I think it is there. Jay I saw beforehand. So I appreciate you guys sticking around and kind of waiting for me to come on here and talk about some fights. Yeah, Fight Island's going to be a little bit weird. I think there's going to be definitely some more fighters fall through. It seems all the Brazilians seem to be catching coronavirus, which is not much a surprise considering what's going on in Brazil at the minute. They've just kind of let everything go. So yeah, but I'm going to get into this because I really want to kind of get through this there. I know what I'm probably going to plan and try and do is get this out today. I think it'll probably be Saturday. I'll try and get the Wednesday card out, and then Wednesday for the Saturday, and so on during Fight Island, because we've got cards condensed into a 2-week cycle here. So I'm already halfway through looking into the next card. I'll use the rest of this week to get the rest of that and get the video out on Saturday, probably before these fights take place. So yeah, we're going to start off right. There's been a couple of fallouts, obviously. Alexander Romanov was supposed to fight Marcin Tybura. So I'm probably just going to start off with that fight. It'll probably be the third fight in, but I'll go Marcin Tybura against Maxime Grishin here. I was actually really going to bet Marcin Tybura against Alexander Romanov. I was not really impressed with what I've seen from Romanov. So Grishin coming in here, undersized guy at heavyweight, 205, won't have to cut all that much weight. We've seen this guy in the PFL. Fairly decent striker, can be controlled by grapplers a little bit, has a couple of draws on his record. But with the PFL, with those 2-round fights, you can't really take too much away from them. You've seen him kind of grappled heavy against like Jordan Johnson. Tybura here, like I say, I was more confident in Tybura in the fight against Romanov than I think I am here. I'm not too sure about Tybura with this one, but I can see a path to victory for Tybura as well. When you look at Tybura, I mean, if you can get at his chin, you can absolutely nail this guy out. And I think Romanov definitely had opportunities if he could get him to the ground. I'm just not sure he could have got him to the ground often enough to maybe test him with the ground and pound and so on. But Grishin here, he might have an opportunity to come in here. I don't know if he was still looking... I don't know if he was kind of getting ready for a fight with everything that's going on. It's a lot of these guys must not be like kind of getting ready to jump into scenarios. We've seen like obviously the Russian dudes have fell out. You've got Aaron Phillips jumping in. I think you've got Cameron Ellis against Jack Shore. So against Nathaniel Wood, I should say. But I Yeah, like I say, I think Tabura has definitely got a massive path to victory. He's a big guy. I think he's a fairly decent kickboxer. I'm not convinced about his chin. Grishin, I think he can be taken down. I think he can be laid upon. Um, and I think he can kind of lose rounds through that. And plus, he's coming in short notice, so they've got this whole thing fighting in Abu Dhabi with the heat and everything. I think it's a place that they've built up, so I don't think it's going to be as hot as it was for like the Khabib versus Poirier fight, where it was absolutely stifling in that place from people that I know that were at the fight there. So I don't think it's going to be as bad as that. Honestly, guys, this is a coin flip fight for me because, like I said, I was more confident in Tybura, weirdly enough, against a true heavyweight than not. So Grishin's definitely got some path to victory with those hands. You know what, I'm going to take Maxim Grishin. I'm not super confident in Tybura kind of getting this fight to where it needs to get to. If he can, then I think he can win. He can win the fight through that. I'm going to go Grishin, and I'm going to go a knockout in the kind of maybe the late into the early third round there. So not super confident, but I think he can get it done. Bantamweight division, we've got Davy Grant against Martin Day. I'm seeing some guys on Twitter fairly confident in Mr. Davy Grant, and I've never really been fairly confident in Mr. Davy Grant at all, if I'm being honest with you. Guy has been around in the UFC for the longest time, probably what, 5-6 years, and he's barely fought in that stretch. There's been stuff with staph infection, there's been weight issues, there's been big injuries. 2013, so he's coming on 7 years, and he's only fought 5 times with a 2-3 record. Yeah, I mean, his losses, Chris Holdsworth back in the day in 2013, 2014 was a great blue chip prospect. Obviously, that never came to fruition. I think a lot of people are taking a lot of stock in the Marlon Vera win, which was, 4 years ago. Marlon Vera in those 4 years has moved leaps and bounds ahead with his game. Losses to Manny, Stasiak beat Gregory Popov, which I don't rate as a big win here. Bermudez, like you say, he was supposed to fight in Liverpool, and I was round about there when that fight got cancelled, and there was some things on the Davy Grant side which I know kind of went place. He got an infection and so on, but I don't think he was ever making weight for that anyway, so that was kind of hurting him a little bit. And then like I say, when they put the fight together in Germany, got absolutely poleaxed with a massive right hand from Manny, and once Manny got the triangle choke in there, it was done. Like I say, Popov, I don't really ever think really should have been in the UFC, if I'm being completely honest with you. And then you've got someone in Martin Day who's I seen some. I've not been super high on him, but I've seen some things in his last fight against Lu Ping Luang, where he was stopping a couple of takedowns. He did get taken down in that fight, but he showed some signs there that he's working on that takedown defense because he is very dynamic as a striker. I think Davy Grant's best way to win this fight, and I think his only way to win this fight, is through his grappling. So it'll be interesting to see what Davy Grant can do there, because I think if he stays in the feet for any kind of long parts of this fight, I think Martin Day will light him up. I think he's got better hand speed. He's quicker getting in and out there. So I've got Martin Day in my opinion. I think the only thing is just the calibre opposition. He's not fought great calibre opposition, obviously. But I'll go Martin Day. I'll go via decision with the opportunity to probably get a knockout in spots in this fight here. So Karol Rosa against Vanessa Melo. I've got Karol Rosa, one that I've not looked into overly a lot. Vanessa Melo's obviously coming off a couple of losses. She's very flat-footed. She's very susceptible to getting hit with a lot of strikes. Lost to Aldana, where she kind of got beat up a little bit. The length of Aldana really came through, and then Tracy Cortez she really got her down a couple of times and won her fight through a grappling there. When you look at the Rosa fight with Principio, I think it is, there was a lot of output in that fight. And she just kind of came out on top in a very, I don't want to say a close, I thought it was kind of close actually, thinking about it off the top of my head, watching that from last week. But like I say, it's one that I've not looked into. I'm not really got too much stock in the fight, so I'm going to take Karol Rosa. This fight I've got a little bit of stock into because it's Raulian Paiva against Zhalgas Zhumaglov, and I've bet Raulian Paiva, even though I think that Zhalgas is a really fun fighter to introduce to the UFC. I got Paiva at -120. I want to say 2, maybe 3 weeks ago now. I got him. He was lower than that here in the UK. There was people messaging me saying, "Look, he's -110, he's -115, -118." The time I got there and managed to watch a couple of fights of Zhumaglov, and I knew who he was because he'd faced some veterans in the outside there. in Russia. He fought Ali Bagatinov, Tyson Nam. So he's fought a couple of known guys who've been in the UFC, are in the UFC, and got wins over them. That fight with Bagatinov, I actually thought he lost that fight, if I'm being honest with you. But in a close-ish kind of fight, I can see why they went that side with Zhumaglov. If Paiva had any kind of takedowns here, and consistent takedowns through fights, I would be super invested in him. And I am still very confident he can win this fight, but what Zhalgas has is he's determined, he's hard-nosed, he's there, he will stand in the pocket, he will throw wild strikes, and looks just a really fun fighter to introduce to the UFC audience here, and in the flyweight division. I can see you guys in the chat there, appreciate it. But I like Paiva's length. I think one of his trainers here as well is not coming over, so that's kind of interesting to me a little bit. I think his main trainer is not come across because he's caught coronavirus. Like I say, Brazil's on, like, it's kind of crazy. Florida and America I think is quite bad at spiking, but Brazil ain't giving two shits of what's going on with this whole coronavirus, and people are catching it left, right and centre. But this has all the kind of makings of being a close fight. Like I said, I saw value in that bet weeks ago, and then I watched more into Zhumaglov, and he is a very good fighter. He's going to win fights in the UFC. This could be a spot where he could upset the apple cart, but I've already got a bet down. I'm sticking with Paiva. I like what I've seen. I like what I've seen in both his fights, even though he lost his first couple of fights. Getting taken down against Kai Kara France, if I remember right, is never a good look, but Bontarin, that was a nasty cut. Then he came out there against De La Rosa, was really picking his shots, planting his feet, loaded up, caught him with that shot, took him out. This could be a close fight. I do recognise this has been a very, very close fight, but I've got Paiva via a very, very kind of close decision. But I'm seeing a lot of people thinking they're going to throw money in Zhumaglov. But yeah, good luck to you if you do that. Lightweight division, we've got the return of Leonardo Santos against Roman Bogatov. And I'll start with the newcomer in Bogatov here, who really outside his grappling doesn't have much, but what he does have with his grappling, he's very hard-nosed, he explodes into takedowns, and he can control you from top position. But this is a massive jump up against a far better fight in Santos. I would be super confident in Santos if we just kind of see him more often, because the guy's got a pretty amazing record. We just don't see him in the fighting all that often. So, and some of the wins that he has on his resume are fantastic, and he can do it by kind of any means kind of necessary. He can knock you dead like he did against Stevie Ray last time out, and the guy's an absolute, I think he's a 4th degree black belt in jiu-jitsu, so he is very, very well versed in many aspects of the game. And I mean, I'm just going to ring off some of his wins here. Since 2014, went to that draw obviously with Norman Park, but he's only fought like 5 times in 6 years, which is kind of crazy. Escudero, Anthony Rocco Martin, good win. Kevin Lee, good win. Martin's good win at the time. That was 2016, so he's only fought twice in nearly 4 years. Wow. And then he knocked Stevie Ray dead. I can see Bogatov definitely getting takedowns in this one, but I don't think that's going to be. I don't think that's going to be a good idea with someone like Santos. With his skills, I actually think Bogatov could be live. I like Santos as a fighter, but we just don't see him often enough, and eventually he's going to hit a wall where the regression is going to come in, or the rust that he's taken from being off is going to play a factor in these fights. I just don't think it's going to be Bogatov here, who is undefeated. I think he's 10 or 11-0. And I am impressed with what I see from Leonardo Santos when you do see him, because he is very, very dangerous. So yeah, I'm going to take Leonardo Santos, but I think if he doesn't show up, or he does have a little bit of rusty, well, he's obviously going to show up, but if he shows up rusty, and Bogatov's going to be spamming in those takedowns, driving through very explosive takedowns, and look to lay on top, and if he can avoid the submissions, he could be live. I just think Leonardo Santos is going to come in here and roll against a very tough Bogatov. Bogatov, to me, reminds me of kind of Fabinski. I think he's going to win a lot of fights kind of through that grappling once he gets a kind of lower caliber opposition. But I've got Leonardo Santos to win that fight there. Moving on. Oh, I've lost what I was doing here. Makwan Amirkhani against Danny Henry. If you watched the early insight for this, I'll tell you, I'm not the biggest fan of Amirkhani, but I think this is a good matchup for him. I think that when you, obviously he's against a fellow Scot here in Danny Henry. I think that Makwan's grappling is going to really come to the fore here. I think that he has very good grappling. I don't think his striking's all that good. I think he can throw out a nice long jab. He can put some decent combinations together. I think he's been doing a little bit of boxing outside of, obviously, with his grappling. I don't know if he's still been at SBG or he's going between Sweden and Ireland. But I know Danny Henry, they've not had the gyms open over here. Danny lives very, very close to me, actually, like 10 minutes away. But not even walking distance, 10 minutes away, so not even that far. But I know the gyms haven't been open over here in Scotland. They're reopening, I think, fairly soon. There's been a lot of closures of gyms over here due to everything that's been going on. When you watch Danny Henry, I watched his fights last night. I watched them against David Tamer and Daniel Tamer, I should say. And he took some licks in that fight. The first 6 minutes probably in that fight, he was taking a lot of damage, getting hit with shots, I don't want to say getting wobbled, but he was getting hit with big dynamic shots from Tamer. Then he started to fade out, and the length and the kind of gameness of Danny Henry really come into it in that fight there. And as the fight went on, he really started to take over. Tamer really had nothing left in the gas tank. Came out against Hakeem Dawodu, caught him with a massive right hand, really floored Dawodu, and then caught him with a beautiful, beautiful kind of motor. It was like a guillotine, and really that was a massive, massive win. And then he gets a massive jump up against Dan Ige, and Dan Ige showed that he's a top 15, top 10 guy. Danny Henry, I don't think will ever be in that reckoning. I think he's a very tough fighter. He'll definitely win some fights because he's a big guy for the division with a lot of tools that can maybe wear guys out. That's how I see him winning this fight if he wins the fight, Danny Henry. He's going to do it through wearing Makwan out. And we have seen him kind of fade a little bit. And he can be hit as well because we've seen, I think Jason Knight dropped him. I still think Jason Knight won that fight, even though I had a pretty healthy bet on there. It's always one of those things when you have a bet on someone, you're watching the fight, which is 20 to 30 feet away from you, and you think you won that fight, but Makwan got the job there. His grappling, I think, is the big factor in this one here. If Danny stops that, then I think he can definitely start to pick away at Makwan and Amirkhani. But I think that his grappling's going to be too much. I think that he might end up actually submitting Danny Henry. So I've got Makwan for the win there. Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos against Muslim Salikhov. I've been flip-flopping really badly in this fight. Really, really badly. In fact, the next two fights I've been going back and forward on. Both guys strikers. I think Zaleski's obviously got the jiu-jitsu and the kind of background there that we don't really see him use. When he uses it 100%, when he uses it, you can see that he's very, very dangerous. Like the Millender fight, I think it was there. One takedown, got to the back, got him out of there. But it's something we don't see very often from Zaleski dos Santos. Is really used a kind of takedown game to get the fight to the ground. He did so against Kunchenko. Kunchenko popped back up fairly quickly, and made that a very close fight. Some people were definitely on the Kunchenko side. I thought it was very, very close. I thought I was a little bit unlucky for Kunchenko, but I think I actually picked dos Santos in that spot, so I was happy to kind of get it right through that. But both guys, dynamic strikers. I think it's the kind of kung fu in Salikhov against the kind of capoeira style of Zaleski. And Zaleski to me has kind of petered out a little bit since that loss to Li Jingliang where he went to China and really looked terrible. And Li Jingliang looked like a superhero there. But this to me has a very, very close fight written all over it. If he can get the fight to the ground, I think that he's got a massive advantage over Salikhov. And we've seen in just a small sample size against Alex Garcia that I remember cashing that bet on Alex Garcia. I think he was plus 200 in that spot, and I remember cashing him there because I thought once Garcia gets him to the ground, I think he can really wash over him there. And I think that might be the path to victory here for Zaleski dos Santos. But I really not get any kind of confidence that he might do that. So I think this might be a back and forth striking affair, and I think that Salikhov could pip him. I think he's a little bit more varied with his hands to his feet. I think he's a little bit faster. I think the power is definitely on, Elizeu's side. But I'm going to go with Muslim Salikhov. I think he's actually dog odds over here in the UK. I could be wrong on that, but It's one of those fights. Like I've got no real confidence. I'm actually looking forward to watching it because I think it's going to be a closely contested fight. But I've got Muslim Salikhov split decision in that one there. This fight I've been going back and forward on big time. Volkan Oezdemir against Jiri Prochazka, who's coming in from Risen, and I must admit I enjoyed watching his fights. There's a lot of holes in his game. I think eventually he's going to be a really, really solid fighter in the UFC, a good addition to the UFC, but he's getting a massive, massive step up in opposition, in my opinion, in Volkan Oezdemir here. You guys, if you've been watching my videos long enough, I've never been the biggest admirer of kind of Volkan Oezdemir. I think those early knockouts really got a lot of people thinking he was going to be something when he was really not, but he has turned out to be a really hard guy to face because he's a really half-decent striker. He can mix up with the best of them. Got all the way up to facing Daniel Cormier. And then he kind of found out his level there where DC was just on a completely other level. But he's very competitive in those fights. You've seen that fight with Anthony Smith. I thought Smith was giving him problems. But then Volkan was... he's just dogged. He's a hard guy to get out of there, is Volkan. He's a really tough guy. I think the loss against Dominic Reyes... I actually thought Volkan won that fight, watching it back. Like I say, he had spots in that Anthony Smith fight. Since then, he's came back. I thought he looked great. I don't think he's been at Hard Knocks 365 in Florida. I think he's went to Thailand. And I think his striking has looked really, really good against Latifi. That short guy came in, tried to grab the leg, and just tried to rip on him a little bit. Then Rakic, very close fight. That's a great win, in my opinion, of having your record against Rakic. But then you kind of move over to Jiri, and the first fight I seen was the King Mo knockout, where he was pretty much dominating that fight and came forward with his hands down by his waist and got cold cocked right in the face and got knocked out dead. And there is a massive, like the whole caliber and opposition thing is thrown me off, because Volkan has faced the up and comers of the division, your Rakic, your Reyes, fought your DCs, and then you've got Prochazka, who's fought CB Dollaway, who's been washed for years, King Mo Lawal, who's been deteriorating kind of slowly since that knockout win over him. Then Fabio Maldonado. He got hurt early in that fight and got taken out, but he comes forward. I think against any type of grappler, I think that Jiri's going to have problems, because he tries to throw that leaping flying knee every time and gets caught with it. Like I say, I've seen some people that have messaged me, and they're fairly certain that Prochazka's going to win this fight. I don't think so. I'm going to pick Volkan. I think he's more varied with his strikes. I think he can mix up. I think he can attack the legs. I think if he wanted to get takedowns, I think he could get takedowns. I think he's got promoted to a new belt with his jiu-jitsu. So, yeah, I'm going to take Volkan Oezdemir. I'm seeing these people out here, Max Bet and Volkan Oezdemir. There's a few people that messaged me. I've got a couple of good buddies that have put a lot of money in Volkan Oezdemir. I can see why that might be the place there. I don't know what the under 2.5 or the under 1.5, it might be a little bit tasty in this one if they come out and throw bombs. But I don't like the defense of Prochazka. I think that Volkan can mix it up. I think he can rip him downstairs. And he's got power as well. Let's not forget about that. So I've got Volkan Oezdemir. I'm actually going to pick him via knockout. I think that he's going to knock out Prochazka, but I think Jiri's going to be good in the UFC. I'm looking forward to seeing him after this fight. Moving on to the main card now, we've got Amanda Ribas against Paige VanZant. If you guys have been around the last couple of weeks, you know I've got a bet on Amanda Ribas when she was minus 400. I parlayed her up with Curtis Blades, who was minus 200. And now I don't even know where her odds are. I shouldn't even look because they're probably sky high. Minus 850. Jesus, that's massive. That's a massive jump up there. But I can see why. My pick's obviously going to be Ribas. I think that the UFC kind of know what they're doing here by getting Amanda a kind of signature win over a name girl in VanZant. You can say what you want about her talents and what else she does outside the cage, but VanZant is a girl that the UFC have marketed. They put her in main events in the past, but she could fight tough here. Amanda Ribas, I was not super high now when she came in there. I even bet against her when I picked Mackenzie Dern, which was like a couple of minutes into that fight. I knew that was just a terrible, terrible bet. And she's really becoming very well rounded with her striking, her grappling. I really like her as a prospect. I still think that VanZant can maybe kind of give her some problems if she comes in here. This is her last fight on her deal here, so she really wants to prove her worth to the UFC. I don't think she'll stick around in the UFC after this fight, if I'm being completely honest. I think that places like One or Bellator are going to throw money at someone like Paige VanZant because they can market her in different spots within their company. Obviously, her husband fights out in Bellator, so it would not surprise me in the slightest if she ends up going over there. She's not got. I think that Ribas is the more slicker striker. We have seen Ribas knocked out in the past, by the way. One shot knockout, if you go back and watch that on YouTube. But that was a long, long time ago. She's really becoming more varied. She's coming harder to take down. She's very, very good on the ground herself. I just don't see where VanZant, although being very, very tough, really has the kind of ammunition here to beat someone like Amanda Ribas. And like I said, I think the UFC know what they're doing here. She took out Mackenzie Dern. She's got a bit of hype behind her name. Paige has been out for a long time. Plus, she's had bad injury problems. Was it, I think, her forearm? She's had surgery in that like 2-3 times. That's a lot of stuff there. And when was the last time she actually fought? It must have been 2019, sorry. Rachel Oezdemir, and she even got taken down in that fight. Now, just remembering that fight in my head, she was getting taken down there by Oezdemir, who's very kind of low level. She did get the finish in that one. She got taken down by Jessica Rose Clark, who was very, very kind of strong in that fight as well. Yeah, I'm going to pick Ribas. I think anywhere this kind of fight goes, I think she's got an advantage. I'm seeing some people on Twitter and so on. You see some of these guys that I've got on my timeline, and they're throwing a half a unit on VanZant, and I don't begrudge that, honestly. I think where the odds are at, she comes through, she has the night of her life, and you've got yourself a decent payday, and you're getting some money back in your pocket. Big money back in your pocket. But I've got Ribas. I think the minute I've seen that parlay of Blades and Ribas at I think it's minus 114, I got it. I like that a lot. And obviously now if you put that, or because I think that Blades went to minus 450 and she's like minus 900, I've seen her as high as. So yeah, I got the value side of that early on. I just need that to come through here and beat Paige VanZant. But I think this will be the last time we see Paige. She might come back in the future, who knows, but yeah, I've got her. I've got Ribas to kind of continue. Plus, she's at American Top Team. She's getting good looks. Paige is really just kind of training with Ricky Simone, I think, Austin Vandenford, the husband. She's not really getting any real looks with kind of decent females, where Amanda Ribas will get quite a few there. I don't know if she's been able to get out to ATT with everything that's going on. But yeah, I've got Ribas there. Women's strawweight division, Jessica Andrade against Rose Namajunas, a rematch from May, I want to say, last year, where Jessica Andrade won the belt, took the belt off Rose Namajunas, where she got that crotch lift, slammed her to the ground, and got a brutal kind of finish over Rose Namajunas. Now, Jessica Andrade has been one of the girls I've really enjoyed watching for years because she's like a little tank. She can throw high output. She's got some power there. She's got one-shot knockout power, which we've seen her when she knocked Karolina Kowalkiewicz dead. She can grapple the absolute lights out against you. You've seen that against Torres. You've seen that against Gedalia, where she absolutely brutalised her in that fight. And she can do that. She's the type of fighter that can go hard through the fight and absolutely maul you to death. But she's obviously got a lot of very kind of bad things that you can capitalise on. Rose Namajunas has got some of the tools there that can do that. And if you watch back the first fight, I think Rose was kind of having her way. She was outlanding her probably 3-1, and really just picking apart. I've never really been super confident in Namajunas because I don't know where her head's at. I've kind of bet against her a couple of times. I did it against Joanna, I think in the second fight there, which was a lot closer. But if she's mentally locked in, I think she's a very tough fighter to face. If she's not, then I think that Andrade could just bully her around a little bit here. But Andrade, to me, she gets hit way too much. I think like I say, I'm kind of struggling with this. I feel like I should take the shot on Andrade, but I've seen enough in that first fight there that if she doesn't make mistakes, she could out-volume Andrade and just pick her apart for the majority of that fight. So I think if I'm Andrade, I try and obviously use that pressure, try and cut off the cage, use leg kicks, try and hurt her early, maybe try and clinch her up a little bit. Namajunas is very dangerous off her back as well. We've seen in the past, but that is in the past a long time ago. And Andrade has got a wealth of experience there. She's been in the UFC for a very long time. I think Namajunas is what, 9-4, 8-4. Reckon Andrade has been around for years. I remember watching her in Manchester years and years and years ago, and the girl's tiny, but she's a little tank. I remember seeing her in the fighter hotel, and she was just a little tank, really. So, if you're taking the shot on Andrade at the odds she's at, I think she was plus 190 when I looked earlier on there. Not bad odds, honestly. But I've seen enough in that first fight to think that if Rose comes in here mentally in the right spot, now she's had, I think, family members die of this whole virus that's been going on around the world, which is obviously terrible. So, and that's another thing there, that if she can get that kind of out of her mind, then I think she can see it, and she can. I think she can absolutely outpoint, outstrike Andrade over 15 minutes. Just don't get caught, don't get clinched up. Um, yeah, I'm gonna go Rose Namajunas fair decision in that one there. Moving on to our first title fight of the night, Petr against Jose Aldo Jr. A lot of people were naysaying this fight. I can see why the UFC are putting it together. Petr Yan's a guy that's came absolutely in here in the last, 2 years, worked himself up into title contention and looked good in doing so. I was pretty confident Petr Yan would win this fight when I made my Insight video a week and a half ago, and then I went back and watched some of Aldo's fights. I think this fight's going to be really early on in the first 10, 12 minutes. This fight's going to be very, very close, because I think Petr Yan gives you opportunities early on in the fight, and Aldo, I think that's when he's going to be his most dangerous with his striking. We all know about Aldo because he's been around for so long, through the WEC, into the UFC, defended his title many times, faced the best guys, lost his belt, went again after it, lost to more good fighters, and decided to make the drop down to 135, where he had a very, very, very close fight with Marlon Moraes. I thought it was the right decision. I thought Marlon deserved to win that fight, but I thought Aldo looked really, really good in that fight, and I still think that there's a lot of upside in Aldo very, very early on in this fight, because, like I say, Petr Yan to me is an absolute destroyer. I was talking about this guy when he came into the UFC, and I said this guy is going to be. It's hard to say this guy's going to be a champion. It's hard. I've only did that a couple of times and it's came through, especially coming into 135 the way that division is. To say, put your marker down that this guy is going to be the champion, that to me was a kind of big statement. But I thought he could get the top 5 pretty comfortably, and it's shown that he's got there very, very quickly. He's a Terminator. This guy he's so hard to get out of the way of, because his pressure, his striking, his wrestling. I've watched pretty much the majority of his career. He's lost to Magomedov back in the day, which was one of the best fights. I think I still remember that fight as being one of the best ones I've ever seen. The rematch was even better. Then he came into UFC, knocked out Ishihara, big shot. Kind of fought, didn't fight the greatest fight against Sun. And then absolutely bludgeoned Douglas De Silva de Andrade. John Dodson, he get hit with it one too many strikes for my liking, but still came out of there winning unanimously. Beat Jimmy Rivera fairly comfortably. Got hit with it, like I say, he gets hit with shots sometimes that are a little bit. I'm a little bit kind of makes me go a little bit, but then in Faber fight, I'm not going to take much away from that fight, because Faber just cannot keep up with a guy like someone like Yan with the output that he brings, and the way that he kind of cuts off the cage. So you've got obviously someone like Aldo who's got vicious, vicious striking. I think he has to pick his kind of spots well here, because I think that Yan is going to... I'm hoping that he's going to come out quick. Like I said, I'm a big fan here, and I'm going to pick him to win the fight, but I think Aldo, I don't know, there's someone... This is the fight I think that Aldo maybe knows this is the last chance saloon. And against someone like Yan, even though I rate him very, very highly, I still think that in the early stages of this fight that he can be got at and he can be hurt. Now, we've not seen any evidence of Petr Yan being able, like, being knocked out or being anything like that. But someone like Aldo, he's got so many weapons to hurt early on. I think he has to come out and really try and pick his shots well. Like, kind of like the Stevens fight. He was getting hit a little bit in that one there. Then he picked his shots perfectly. Went to the body. Absolutely killed him through that. Then Moicano picked his shots beautifully. If he doesn't do that in the first 10 minutes of this fight, I think Petr Yan's going to eat him up very, very badly, because he can go hard. I've got no doubts about it. He can go hard for 25 minutes in this heat. Keep up an output, keep up a pressure that I don't think that Aldo can really kind of keep up with. And then the more shots he starts to take, the weight cut, he's come out and said that the weight cut to 135 was easier than 145, which is the biggest load of BS I've ever seen and ever heard and ever read in my life. I don't know why. As soon as I seen that article, I should not have read it because I knew it was going to be baloney, but I went and did it anyway. Yeah, I'm going to pick Petr Yan. One of the bets I'm looking at, and I've not seen odds for it yet, but I like these type of bets. Yan in rounds 4, 5 or decision. I stupidly didn't bet this bet specifically for the Dustin Poirier fight. In rounds 4, 5 and by decision, Dustin Poirier was plus 225, and I was going to bet it, and I was going to track it, and never did it. But sometimes that's what happens when sometimes you kind of look into fights and you don't really want to pick your spots that great. But I'm going to pick Petr Yan. I think that I actually think he can take out Aldo late, but I think he's going to have to come through some really tough spots in this fight here. But I've got Petr Yan. I'm going to take him via, I'll take him via decision, I think, I'm going to go TKO round number 5. That's what I'm going to go with. Moving on, co-main event, Alexander the Great Volkanovski defends his UFC featherweight championship for the very first time against the former great of the division, Max Blessed Holloway. I'm going to come out straight away and say this. I've had people message me all weekend regarding this Max Holloway interview he did with Ariel Helwani, where he's saying like he's not been with his coaches, he's been doing it on Zoom. I do not believe that for 1 second. They've had these whole lockdown things go on, and guys don't want to talk about their gyms being open because they could get into serious trouble. But there's another guy from Hawaii on this card here in Martin Day who's been in the exact same gym that Max Holloway's been in. But I just think Max is keeping that in the down low and not trying to get his people into trouble, which is absolutely fair enough here. So I don't take that at all. People are saying that he's not going into his classes and training, but he's sitting at home playing computer games, and which is fair enough. He might be maybe doing a bit more of that, but he has probably been stuck at home a little bit more than he would be during a normal fight camp. And if you watched my early insight video last week, I was picking Max Holloway. I went back and watched. This is the thing that I like with the early insights, looking at these pay-per-view and the big fights. You look at that fight, the very first fight, I thought Volkanovski looked amazing, and I forgot how good he actually really looked in that fight. And I said, I think a few adjustments from Max could bring him closer to winning this fight. And I do think that's still the case, but I don't know whether it's going to be enough, because I had it 48-47 for Volkanovski. I actually think it's closer, an easy 49-46, if not maybe a 50-45 in there. But like I say, Max Holloway I thought did come on great, but he still got outstruck in those last, I think every round, if I remember right, he got outstruck, and he was leading in with beautiful low kicks from the get-go in that first round, and really just changing up the stance of Max Holloway, where he was making him a little bit more uncomfortable, finding it hard to get his combination strikings out there and getting his output out there. And what he wasn't doing, he wasn't throwing like blind leg kicks. He was coming in with body shots, leaping in, going up the top there. Volkanovski's a little tank, man. He really, really is. And if you got Volkanovski at those odds last time, fantastic. Now these odds, Volkanovski minus 235. I want none of that at all. Max Holloway at plus 200. I mean, that to me, if that gets any higher, that's a shot I think you need to take, which could be a very, very close fight. Which I think this is going to be a very close fight. But I thought the first one was close initially, but actually turned out Volkanovski was really a little bit more dominant than I initially thought in that one. And he was trying to mix it in well. I thought his coaching from his coaches in the corner there were fantastic. They were pick pointing, definitely things they could see in Max's game that he was using, try to time his takedowns very well. I think I said in the video last week as well that he's not been to city kickboxing, which I don't think is a big thing now. Back then I thought I did, but I think in the past I've heard that he's did that as well. So I like Volkanovski via a very, very, very close decision. I think Max is definitely going to make this fight closer than the first one is there, but I think he has to maybe try and hurt someone like Volkanovski, and we've not really seen many times that Volkanovski gets hurt in fights, and we've seen that he's can go 5 hard rounds. Like I say, plus 200, that's great odds for a former champion, but how many former champions do we see come back and dominate the divisions like they did beforehand? I think Max Holloway's time to move up to 155, bulk up a little bit, get ready for that division. He's already fought one of the best guys in that division, and Poirier fought him very close, so he will win some big fights up at that division. But I'm going to take Alexander Volkanovski. I think that he can win this fight through his output, through his volume, through his footwork, just his toughness. I think he reads Max really well. So I'm going to take Alexander Volkanovski for the win right there. And in the main event of the night, we've got Kamaru Usman defending his UFC welterweight championship against the BMF champion, Jorge Masvidal. I will say this about Jorge Masvidal, jumping in here in 6 days' notice, and I was thinking to myself when this fight was getting made last night, I was like, has he even been in the gym for this? But I watched an interview with Ariel, and it's like he's been getting ready because he thought something might happen with this fight. So he's definitely be getting ready for this fight, which means that he's in fairly decent condition coming into this one. But I still don't think it's going to be enough against Kamaru Usman. I said in the early insight video for this last week, this guy, in my opinion, is going to be a matchup problem for a lot of welterweights going forward. And I think that Usman could feast on someone like Masvidal here, in my opinion. I think he could really come out here and put on a performance for the ages. Now, Usman, he's obviously had to kind of mix things up a little bit, moved his camp here. He was supposed to fight Gilbert Burns, who was a training partner, so he moved out to Colorado with Trevor Whitman and Justin Gaethje. And I love the fact that Gaethje and Usman are together. I think that's going to be massive for both guys. I think it's going to be massive for Usman to have someone like Whitman, who I think is one of the most underrated coaches in the game. Still very, very high. I rate him very, very highly. And then, like I say, the one thing with Masvidal, and I put this out in a tweet last night, like this guy's came from the back gardens to the streets to now fighting for a UFC championship and getting big money from what I'm hearing. Him speak about with Ariel Helwani in that interview today, like he had a number. He didn't get the number he was after, but he got very, very close to it. So, and like I say, this is the guy that's been game bred, ready to go for years, for absolutely years. Like, he's been underappreciated. I probably underappreciated him a little bit, his skill wise a little bit, but always knew he was very, very dangerous. There's people out there like my man Rockstar Z, who is a massive fan of Masvidal and his striking, and he's been on him from the get-go in many, many spots as well. But now he's really putting it all together, and he's beating these guys up. He had that break from social media. He was out on an island or something, and then came back, and he's absolutely knocking guys dead, and he's beating them up really badly. Like, he bludgeoned Nate Diaz to bits in that fight. That was something when I was watching, but I was like, damn, he actually really beat his ass up badly. But some of you guys are saying in the chat there, and I can see that on the side, that he is taken down a lot. He did get taken down a lot in the past. His biggest strength is his striking, but he's very well versed in every aspect because he's a true veteran of the kind of combat world. But I don't think he's going to be able to deal with the power and the presence and pressure of Kamaru Usman. I think Kamaru Usman, I think he's in line to be, if he sticks us out to be one of the best welterweight champions. I think he's got a skill set there, and he said it after the Colby Covington fight. He's a problem for a lot of fighters, and I agree with that. The more I look into Kamaru Usman, and you've seen him come through. You've seen him come through tough, and you've seen him make his way up the rankings, and he's never looked out of place. He's had a couple of really bad performances where he's never looked great, but he's always been dominant. and it's still to this day very, very dominant. And I like his striking. Actually, I think his striking is really underappreciated. And you saw that in the Colby Covington fight with some of the shots he was picking, kept going, got that finish in the 5th round. I just don't think he can. I don't think Masvidal is going to be able to get his back off the cage, and he's going to be able to stop takedowns. Now, I also seen someone in the comments there talk about Masvidal working with Bo Nickel, who's going to the Olympics as a wrestler, I believe. Really good wrestler. Poirier was working with him. Luis Pena was working with him. And Usman's always been, Masvidal's always been good at kind of stopping majority of takedowns, but there is times where he will get taken down. I think there's a list I saw last night. There's like a load of guys that have taken him down, but he's very, very crafty in many areas. He will find his way back to his feet. I just don't know whether he's going to do it against someone like Usman here. So Usman at minus 275, like I'm seeing here, I see that as a parlay piece in my opinion, but it might be one of those fights I kind of want to sit back. I mean, Masvidal's rise the last couple of years has been amazing. Just been pretty much a journeyman in the UFC. Now he's one of the biggest names, got a belt kind of made for him for a fight. And then his performances, obviously his knockout at Till, and then the Ben Askren one, which was a year yesterday, I believe. One of the best knockouts of all time, there's no doubt about it. I'm going to pick Kamaru Usman here. I see this being a 25-minute demolition job of Jorge Masvidal. I would find it amazing that if Jorge came out here and won the belt. I think it'd be amazing, honestly. But I think Kamaru Usman right now is just one of the toughest matchups in the UFC in all divisions. I think that he's got so many good traits in his skill set that he's a really hard guy to face. So I've got him winning 25-minute dominant decision there. Not many dogs I've picked out for this one, which sucks a little bit. But I think it looks to me like a fairly heavy favourite kind of card. But there is a couple of spots there which I do like. I've got the bet of Paiva, obviously minus 120, and I've got the parlay of Blades and Ribas there. So yeah, I'm going to take Usman in that one there. So this is the start of Fight Island, guys. Thank you very much for sticking with me for the last 47 minutes, which I forget about time and just keep on talking. I'm surprised you guys stick around me for that long. So thank you very much for that. I will have Calvin Kattar against Dan Ige out this Saturday before the fight, so keep an eye on that. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. I really do appreciate it. Also want to know what you guys are betting, so leave that in the drop down box below. And if any of you guys in there that are watching can throw a thumbs up, it'd be much appreciated. Until Saturday, until the Dan Ige Calvin Kattar fight, all the very, very best, and appreciate everybody for sticking with me. All the best. Take care.